Lovely and amazing Anushka Maski. Welcome to On VG's playlist. Such a pleasure chatting with you this afternoon. Firstly, how are you doing?
Hi, so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing good. I'm so happy to finally be out releasing again. I took a hiatus of 1 year, and it honestly feels so good to be back.
And I think this hiatus that you talk about, I think it is very important that once in a while
Mhm.
you rest and recoup because I
Mhm.
believe, Anushka, you've been constantly releasing music, in the midst of the pandemic is when you started with your
Yeah.
two beautiful EPCs and I think it just one by one it all started coming. Then you had three beautiful
Yeah.
singles in 2021, and now
Mhm.
you're finally released so long already again. So I think it was very
Yes.
necessary and imperative for you to take this sort of rest. But
Yeah.
welcome back, and so glad to
Thank
see
you.
you on the road. Firstly, I have to begin by congratulating you. Since since the pandemic happened, for me personally, it that was the period when I think, like me, people who are fans of genuinely good music, they really
Mhm.
sat, they really took the time out to listen and discover artists from various parts of the country.
Yeah.
And that's when the emergence of Anushka Masti happened. And you released two beautiful EPs, bang in the middle of the pandemic. So, firstly, um, Anushka, I think when the pandemic happened, of course, I would want to know what was your mind space at that time, because how
Mhm.
did you, bring yourself to that point of conviction that, okay, I wanted to
Mhm.
put my work out, even though
Mhm.
situations around me seem uncertain.
Yeah. So, firstly, thank you so much for saying all those kind things. It means a lot to me that you listen and that you love our music. We started, so I've been wanting to start for the longest time, from as far back as I can remember, school, college, while I was working. And it has just been something, one of those things that you keep for the future. Say, one day I'm going to do it. And I never really did it. And I never really tried to even write my own music up until 2020. And when the lockdown happened, I was living in Bangalore at the time.
Yeah.
And for about 3 months, I was not able to go back home to Sikkim. I couldn't meet anybody in Bangalore. I was absolutely all by myself in my apartment. And
Yeah.
I think that inevitably that brought about a lot of time for introspection and just a lot of reflecting, trying to make the most of my time with myself, because I don't think there'd be a lot of more instances where I would get this much time. I'd be forced to spend this much time with just myself. So I think that kind of very organically translated into writing music. And at the start of it, I was just making stuff and then sending it to people who would listen to stuff I put on Instagram. And I just started sharing it with people, and I decided to make a cute little DIY video up on my terrace and put it up. And I think that was the first song, Flesh and Bone, that actually reached so many people. I did not expect it to reach that many people, and the
Yeah.
response I got was incredible. And I realized that I was suddenly aware of this ability to I have to be able to connect with people, and to be able to have conversations with absolute strangers and have them relate to me and have me relate to them. And I think that that was so powerful that I couldn't stop from then onwards. And I think I'm sure Pranay Cosmic also.
Yeah.
Cosmic Rose, my creative partner. Him and I just he was really the one who pushed me to release music out on streaming platforms more than anything, because otherwise I was content with just posting on Instagram. But he was like, we should think about making it like the real deal. And I was like, I really want something that's out there, that's my own. And I think that's where it started. And we already had so much material that we wanted to put out, that we were like, we can't wait around, like we need to do it, even if forget about all other factors, forget marketing and how difficult that's going to be. It's about putting out something that represents me out there, represents us out there. So that's how it started, and we didn't stop after that. But I think what happened was I wanted to keep up the momentum, and I wanted to make sure that I was continuously releasing music, and I managed to do that till 2021.
Yeah.
And I realized that a lot of the times the way you plan things don't pan out. And I was being really hard on myself initially, because I was like, shit, like if I can't get my life together, how am I going to ever manage this career as a musician? I can't make excuses for not releasing music. Like, it just doesn't work like that. But I had a lot of things that were priority number one at the time. My mental health was in a horrible state, and I wanted to take care of that before I did anything else. So I think what I've learned over the past year is you really can't rush things, especially creative processes. You really can't rush it. And I'm glad I took that break. No regrets at all. And I'm just super happy to be back.
Well, firstly, I hope you're feeling better, Anushka, and I'm really happy
Thank
that like I said, that you took that time out for yourself, because I feel in the last 2 years alone, only two full-fledged EPs and three singles. Of course, just putting that out itself could have taken its own fair share of toll on you. And I think,
Yeah.
like I rightly said, it was just imperative for you to have taken that break and worked upon yourself. And I'm happy you
Yeah.
are feeling better. I think when you
Thank
spoke
you.
about your very first EP, Things I Saw in a
Mhm.
Dream,
Yeah.
rightfully said, Flesh and Bone and Trampoline. I remember seeing those two beautiful music videos, and I think that started the scheme of things for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Things I Saw in a Dream came only from a place where it was mere reflections upon the observations that you were making for yourself, in the midst of the
Yeah.
pandemic, and
Mhm.
something that you kind of sort of carried forward with Seeds. So just
Yeah.
firstly, quickly, if you just want to take us through how did you how did you make these two EPs in 2020?
Mhm. So we started with, so I had no equipment whatsoever because I was not an artist at the time,
Yeah.
and I didn't have a proper mic. I didn't know how to use a proper DAW. I didn't know anything. And Pranay happened to be a producer who had released music, his own music in the past, and he knew his way around things. So he was a huge resource in terms of educating me about how it works. And then both of us did our research with releasing music, what distributors we should go with. We looked at what was happening around us, because we started doing, there were a lot of, I'm sure, there were a lot of Instagram lives happening at the time with, like, artists
It was
interacting and
every
stuff like
day.
that. Yeah, it was every day. And I think that was firstly so fun to be able to connect. And secondly,
Absolutely.
there was a lot of knowledge there to begin, especially for people starting out.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I was comfortable asking about. And so we started there. And initially I was like, shit, no, it's my first debut album. Like, it needs to be recorded in a studio. It needs to be proper. There needs to be, proper equipment and everything. But we didn't have that. And it was lockdown. Who's going to
Yeah.
open up their studio for me? So I had a USB microphone, like a cute little tripod that literally stands on a
Yeah.
table,
Yeah.
nothing else, a USB microphone. And I connected that. I would use that on my Mac. And that's how we recorded the first album. We just forget first album. We did the first two, first album EP. The next single as well was recorded on the USB microphone itself. And I think all the credit goes to Pranay for being able to pretty it up and make it, uh, presentable enough for a release. And I think he did an incredible job just mixing and producing it for it to be presentable enough to be out there. So that's how we started.
Well, of course, we are here to talk about your latest release, So Long Already Again. Firstly, congratulations. It's beautiful visually and
Thank you.
audio-wise.
Thank you
I
so much.
instantly fell in love with it, the minute Natasha shared it with me. Natasha,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, is managing Anushka right now. So the minute she shared the press kit with me, I just fell in love with the song instantly, and I knew I had to put it on my playlist update also, which just went out a couple of days back.
Mhm.
And firstly, Anushka, I think before anything else, I think the one question that I've been wanting to ask, or I've been meaning to
Mhm.
ask, is, um, and I'd like to take my time to put this up because I want to be as respectful
Yeah.
about it as possible.
Yeah, please.
Usually, when artists, kind of deep dive into their own personal lives to, put
Mhm.
it out for the sake of their art,
Mhm.
there are certain trappings of fame, or there are certain trappings of I'm literally sharing a part of my personal space out there for
Mhm.
the public domain. So when
Mhm.
you are working on a song like this that literally reflects into your a personal relationship that you hold very dear,
Mhm.
how skeptical were you about it, or how positive were you about it? And this is what I wanted to communicate to my song.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, So I think, as you say this, what comes to mind is more than so long already. Again, actually, my experience with releasing September Embers in 2021,
Yeah.
2020, was it's. I think that's one of my most personal songs ever. Like, it's about my relationship with my mom and the troubles that she had in her life at the time.
Yeah.
And so it was, while writing the song it was all right, and while making the song it was okay, and when it was time to put it out, only then I was like, wait a minute, this is so personal. I've made something, I'm releasing something, I've recorded something, but I never thought about the fact that I'm going to be sharing such a personal part of my life, that
Yeah.
am I ready to share it? Like, is this something I want to put out in public? And that's, I think, when I started to introspect, and when I came to the realization that that is kind of the point. Like, you're putting out your most genuine, most authentic self,
Yeah.
and it's kind of your service to your listeners, to your listener base, to deliver your most honest self. And if they're able to relate to it, if they're able to find some sort of solace, then you've done your job. And I think that releasing September Embers really shifted my perspective in that regard. And for because of that, releasing so long was a piece of cake, because I mean, love and long distance relationships is, I'm sure, relatable to a wide audience. And it just felt like I should share what it's like for Pranay and I, what it was like for Pranay and I. And as you'll see from the music video as well, we have a sense of humor about it. We're not, going into it all like, shit, it's been horrible. It's been
Yeah.
such a shit time. It's just been shit. We've really kind of tried to, stay away from that, because it's been more or less kind of easy for us, other than just the having to leave part. And we really wanted to portray our true selves with a sense of humor. And I think that we really managed to do that well with the music video.
Let's speak about the music video. How did you bring yourself? I think it was about 3 days of shoot, and which was, of course, exciting but also exhausting to an extent. And
Yeah.
how did this collaboration with Katril Films also, who have assisted you with putting this
Mhm.
video across?
Yeah.
Just take us through the process of this.
Uh-huh. So we started with Katril with Empire of Fear last year.
Yeah.
And they're actually friends of Pranay's, who we got in touch with. And they're also an incredibly new group that is just growing and just starting to come out. And so it felt like the perfect place to be able to collaborate and have both our, work out there together. And that's how it started with Empire of Fear. And this time around, we had about two different plans prior to this that got canned. We were trying to get a budget for it. We were not able to get a sponsor, so we had to pay out of our pockets. And that's how it started with Katril. And the 3 days was absolute fun, but also absolute exhaustion. We had about 5 or 6 different locations, and I think the toughest one of the locations would be the one in Dhobi Ghat, because we were inside literally like an enclosed room with a live furnace, and there
Yeah.
were windows, like small windows on top, where light beams were falling through. So it was absolutely aesthetic, but freaking difficult to be in. And I think that was one of our toughest locations, because it was difficult to breathe and all of that. But right from the get-go, right from the time I told them, guys, like, this is my song, this is my concept, this time I want to be telling a story through the music video. I don't just want b-rolls and visualizers. I want it to be storytelling. And they completely agreed. And it was just kind of surreal the way my vision and their vision for what they saw for us kind of came together. And I think that from Empire of Fear itself, we learned that we work really well together. And I think it's just been twice as more fun and twice as more challenging, and all of that this time around. Yeah. And Kachil is the group. Kachil is a team that I want to kind of grow with, and I want to see them hit their milestones and just be able to grow with them, because we've started together. So there's a lot of emotional attachment there with them. Yeah.
Rightfully so. Let's find out a little about you, Anushka. How was it being a young girl growing up in the life and times of Sikkim? Because, well, for a major part of this country, people are still aloof and unaware about
Mhm.
what life is like. Growing up in the
Mhm.
northeastern state. So as a young girl, what were your early influences? What was your early exposure to the world of
Mhm.
music when growing up in
Mhm.
Sikkim? How did you kind of shift base from Sikkim to, I think, Bangalore? And just in
Yes.
January 22 is when you have moved to Mumbai. So just take
Yes.
us through your life and times.
Yeah. I think where it all started in terms of music was with my brother, my older brother. He is an incredible guitarist, and when I
There is
was
actually a very
quite
fun fact about him, which I learned. I'm sorry to interject, but
no,
there's
no,
a fun
please.
fact that I have learned through one of the interviews. I think it was with Rolling Stone only, where he
Huh?
was the one who taught you. You're a right-hander,
Yes.
and he taught you how
Yeah.
to handle the guitar the left way,
Guitar
and now
left.
you've become
Mhm.
comfortable playing it
Playing
left-handed.
left.
Yeah, please
Yeah.
continue, please.
Yes. So I was born a lefty. For some weird freaking reason, my parents decided to make me righty. Like, I don't even know what the logic behind that is. But so I would naturally pick a lot of things up with my left hand.
Yeah.
And just like that, I picked up his guitar one day with my left hand. And he saw me messing around with it. And he was like, why don't I try to teach her? He's a writer guitarist himself. So he was like, why don't I? This will be cool. Hendrix vibes. So he was like, he started teaching it to me, teaching how to play lefty to me, and I just caught on that way, and I just continued playing that way all my life. And that's really where it all started. There are these, old home videos of him playing the guitar and me holding like a shampoo bottle and using it as a mic, and that's really where it started. We would jam, yeah, we would jam. There are these horribly embarrassing videos where we would jam and stuff like that. So that's really where the singing bug began. And in school, I would do a few performances here and there, nothing too much. And in college, I was in a rock band. We were like this, we were like this cute group of people who would just mostly do cover songs. And so it's always been a part of my life. And when I started working in Bangalore after college, uh, I was down in the dumps. I was hating working corporate. I was not understanding what I'm
Yeah.
doing with my life. Yeah, I was, and I'd started to. The most dangerous part was that I'd started to believe that this is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to not love your job. You're supposed to, be just happy with the money you're making. But it really took over. Like the unhappiness really took over after a point, and I realized that I gotta give something that actually gives me joy a choice, and a chance, sorry. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's while I think I wasted about a year in Bangalore not knowing what to do with my life, just speaking to people and spending a lot of time by myself. And that's when I started writing in, I guess, end of 2020, 2019. And then 2020 I properly started to write music. And I think what really gave me the confidence was having a producer who's so close to me. He was
Yeah.
just able to give me a lot of insight about how things are done, and just knowing that there was someone who would help me build my song itself gave me so much confidence to be able to put it out. And so yeah, Bangalore was mostly college, work, and then I started putting stuff out. And for about a year and a half back home in Sikkim, when I went during the lockdown, I wrote a bunch of songs as well. And like, if you ask me about what it was like growing up back home in Sikkim, thankfully, I was blessed with an incredible school. Um, they really, integrate a lot of values in me that I take with me to this day. But I didn't exactly have the most pleasant experience growing up at home. The environment wasn't, inspiring. It wasn't really, um, of course, it was nurturing in the sense that, my mom was always there. She's very close to me, but I didn't really have a very nurturing environment in the sense there were always things going on with my parents, and facing a lot of issues with friends and feeling left out, being lonely. All of that has always been a part of my life. And I think now is when I'm finally starting to translate that into my music. And you're just going to see more and more sad stuff from me as we continue, because I have a lot of sad songs coming up.
I don't think so. You can call them sad songs in any way because you come out of the lockdown and your first live
Mm,
performance is where you are back, where you're guesting for Pratik Kuhad. I don't think so.
mm.
It can get bigger than that. And then you go on to perform at the NH7 weekend or earlier in Pune. So
Yeah.
firstly, firstly, how did that feel? Just, taking
Mhm.
to the stage right after the, coming out of a pandemic, you opened for such, big ticket acts like Pratik Kuhad, rightfully
Mhm.
is well established in his right.
Mhm.
So firstly, how was
Mhm.
that experience? And then secondly, how did that energy kind of translate into your performance at the weekend?
Yeah. Um, I mean, for sure, that was one of the biggest milestones of my career yet. Having gone from, so I was doing a couple of online shows during the lockdown, but you don't get the whole live experience, obviously.
Yeah,
And so it had pretty much been years since I'd actually performed for a live audience. And suddenly performing for 1,000 people in one area, in one venue. And it was incredibly intimidating at first. I questioned the people who assigned it to me. I was like, are you sure you trust me with this platform?
wow.
You know, yeah. And I really sat with that for a while. Obviously, I was excited and there was no way I was going to turn it down. But I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of doubts. And I think just, in fact, having not a lot of time before finding out that that was going to happen and actually starting the tour, not having a lot of time in between was a great thing because it left less time for overthinking.
Yeah.
And I just got right down. I spent I only had 2-3 days because I was in Hyderabad for a shoot when I got the news. And just 2-3 days of practice of a bunch of songs of my own that I've never performed live.
Yeah.
And I just had to set sail. And I did that. And what I expected out of myself was, I'm probably going to crumble under the pressure of the audience. I'm going to forget lyrics. That's something I've struggled with always. I'm going to forget lyrics. I'm going to, is this okay? Is this not? And it was just very in my head initially. But from the first leg of the tour itself, nervousness was there during the first song. By the time the second, third song started rolling in, I was fine. Like, I was absolutely fine. I was in the zone. I was singing my songs without any mistakes that I was expecting. And halfway through the set, I was feeling so empowered. I was like, shit, this is so cool. I have this opportunity where people are listening to me. Like, it's not a restaurant where I'm playing a side gig and people are doing their own thing. They're looking at me, they're listening to what I'm saying. And that was so empowering. And I just had so much fun. And as the different legs of the tour progressed, by the time we were at the last city, it was just about closing my eyes, singing my songs, just really vibing and just being in the moment. And I think that being able to take those photographs in my mind of moments that felt so surreal
Yeah.
on such a big platform is something that I'm always going to keep. And it's the way that it empowered me, it's given me the confidence to perform live altogether. And I think that I couldn't have asked for any better way to start my live sessions again. And it was a huge turning point for me.
Well, kudos to you, Anushka, for that. I think it's just very empowering to know that, what you were before you took to the stage and what happened after that. I think that itself is such an inspiring story in itself.
Mhm.
While we are talking about so long already, we also have another reason to celebrate. There is Love is Love that you have created for the second season of the
Yeah.
Netflix show Mismatched,
Yes.
which is such a beautiful song. It's very playful, it's very upbeat. And while I was listening to that, I also felt a certain sense of liberation also because it really gets you onto your feet. So firstly, how did that opportunity fall in, in your lap?
Sorry, yeah, there was a bit of a lag. But so with Mismatched, it was really cool because this was one of the things where both Pranay and I were needed for the project.
Yeah,
And we'd always been looking forward to, creating, we've talked about making score for like the official soundtrack for songs, shows and stuff like that is one of our my goals. And so having this in the palm of our hands was super exciting. Pranay and I actually had an idea for, so the instructions basically were that we were to make a peppy track where people can dance to. And Pranay and I initially had a rock and roll sort of vibe in mind,
yeah,
like I don't know. I can't think of any artists right now. But yeah, we had a rock and roll sort of plan in mind. But then we started working towards a more pop, more electronic pop kind of vibe, and it was a very new project for both of us because we'd never made an electronic pop track together or at all. So it was a super new experience, and I'm just so grateful that we were trusted with such a big platform. And I think that it was incredibly new, incredibly unique for us to work on it. And secondly, the fact that we pulled it off and we both actually liked what we made itself was a milestone right there. And now that it's finally out, I'm so glad people are having fun and they're getting to see like a very, very, very different side of us that they never really saw coming, I guess. So I'm getting a lot of like, calls from like cousins and friends about, oh, this is new. Why don't you make more of this stuff? You should release more of this stuff. And I'm like,
There you go.
yes, yeah, you will see more of it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, but before we conclude, Anushka, I mean, you are
Mhm.
clearly quite a favorite amongst many artists that I interview. There are so many
Mhm.
people who have taken your names whenever I've asked them about, who are your favorite artists from the independent
Oh,
music scene
wow.
that you love listening to. Pragnya
Mhm.
Vaklu, very recently, she mentioned you. And of course, there's so many of them who constantly keep quoting your name. But if I have to ask
So,
Anushka, who does she
mhm.
love listening to and who does she find
Oh.
very inspiring from the Indian
Mhm.
music space? Who are the names you
Mhm.
would pick?
I've been listening to so much Indian independent music. It's going to be so tough to choose. Let me
Take your time.
okay, so I think I've been high on Shantanu Pandit for as long as I can remember, but it's kind of revived for me now, I guess, because of his tour and um, all of that. I absolutely love Shantanu Pandit. I am in love with Malvika Manoj's voice. I really want to work with her in the future. And I think her voice is so like it puts you in a trance and it takes
Yeah.
you to a different place, um, especially with headphones on. I love Tejas. His latest album, Outlast, blew
Yeah.
my freaking mind. The production was out of the freaking roof. It's Outlast. The track itself is my
Yes.
go-to song a lot of the
Outlast
times.
the track itself. Yes.
Yeah, the track itself. Yeah. Easy Wanderings, obviously.
Oh,
The new album they've put out is just it's so cool. It's so inspiring to see them.
Castles in the Air has been
Yes,
playing on loop, and I feel like I waltz along with it every time I'm
uh-huh.
listening to it. So
Yeah,
I totally get the feeling.
it's yeah, man. It's so cool and so inspiring to see them do new things, and it just inspires me to explore and expand my musicianship as well. But yeah, off the top of my head, these are artists, but there are so many that are doing incredibly. I'm just so excited to be here when it's booming and when everyone is just doing so freaking well. So it's such an inspiring place to be.
Lastly, Anushka, of course, the festival season is back. It's a huge breeding ground of opportunities in itself. Networking
Mhm.
is, at large and high.
Mhm.
What are the big plans going forward?
I think one of the biggest plans right now, which is going to be another huge milestone for me, is the Udaipur World Music Festival in December.
Way.
It's been yay, so it's been coming. It's been a long time coming. This year it's been, I guess, postponed twice already. So I'm
Hmm.
really hoping that December doesn't get postponed because it's going to be the first festival where there are actually going to be international artists and stuff like that. So I'm super pumped for that and already in preparation.
Well, onwards and upwards, Anushka. As a listener, as an audience, I think just watching you evolve from strength to strength in the last 2 years alone has been such a gratifying feeling. And I cannot wait for the wonderful music that you're going to give us in the near future. Congratulations again for all the
Thank
success
you
that
so much.
has come your way so far. And I wish you all
Mhm.
the very best. Thank you again for talking to me today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank